Good evening, and welcome to another famished version of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your ravenous and rapacious host, Voice of Doom. It's actually afternoon. The announcer got it wrong. He was doing so well for so long. But wanted to do a potpourri of peril, just various subjects. But my main topic for the day is going to be famine. You can see I'm getting skinny. But we'll talk about that later. I wanted to do a few things. Wanted to recap Petri Dish's glorious and successful and productive trip abroad. He did America proud again. It's good to have a strong person at the helm when there's a lot of crises going on all over the globe. So he said 3 or 4 things that they had to correct. They should have an editor right next to him as he makes any kind of remark, because he seems to be able to actually deliver a speech. I mean, believe me, I'm looking for anything I can see, signs of, where he's not in touch with reality. So I listened to his words, and he seems to deliver speeches rather well for the most part, considering he's demented and his brain is addled. So it's only when he gets a question he's not ready for from somebody he doesn't know, that's when things go bad. And when he speaks off the cuff, just every time he speaks off the cuff, I know that if it's written down, he knows enough. He's been around the block enough to know how to read it, make it look natural, because politicians are actors. I don't want to belabor that. He said a few things. It's already been mentioned. He said, what? When you go to Ukraine, you'll see the resilience and bravery of these people, talking to some battalion or some airborne whatever, and they're probably thinking to themselves, what did he just say? And they don't want to react like shock and gas, but it's like, wait a minute. And so they had to walk that back. He said something stupid in his speech about we'll have to respond in kind if the Russians use chemical warfare. And it's like, wait a minute, he didn't mean that. And he also said, we have to get rid of this leader. He has to go. And they had to walk that back and just say, well, what he meant to say was he shouldn't have the power to attack other countries. Shouldn't be allowed to do that. Now, Petrie was actually right. It's just that anything he could say, even by mistake, could be a pretext for worldwide annihilation. Hate to put it in stark terms. But if you start talking about an exchange and 4,000 nuclear warheads, we have many more. Some are bound to slip through. And then you might have other countries throwing their 2 cents in. Might overwhelm. If you have like 200 or 300 nuclear bombs coming at the country all at once, it may be hard to get them all. I'm not sure. I hope they're trained. I hope they pass their CRT course so that they can go back to really having that other stuff down, like shooting down atomic bombs. I don't want to waste too much more time with that. I did want to read a passage, and that might take a minute or two. I'll just go for a little while. But I think this Word of God has got some good stuff in here, even though I may not subscribe to all of its beliefs or what it says. The red words are Jesus talking. And I was just looking up stuff, and so I found this passage, a chapter actually, sign of Christ's coming, just talking about, I'll just read it. It's chapter 24 of St. Matthew. Here we go again. This is what I don't like. But I do like these glasses. Makes it much easier though, small print. So, chapter 24. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And Jesus said unto them, No. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and the kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these things are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, and love of many shall wax cold, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. It's actually a smiley emoji. Weird. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor shall ever be. I could go on. It's good stuff. Jesus said some really interesting things. Kind of applies to today. And I have to get to my main subject, because they were talking about, Petrie said that there will be food shortages. And I'm liking to think that since he's been wrong about every single thing he's ever said, that he might be wrong about this. But I'm afraid he might be the first time he's right. Now, famine, scarcity of food. There's been famines throughout history for various reasons. Most of them have to do with nature. And now that we're trying to change nature, God knows what's going to happen. But a lot of famines come from just arable land drying up, bad weather conditions, war, destroying, causing shortages. So since I guess Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe and Russia has a lot of wheat too, I think this whole thing's about food. I really do, because that's why they're blowing up the buildings. They're not blowing up the wheat fields. I noticed that. So we'll talk about scarcity, famine. Great Famine of Finland was 1696. 1/3 of the population died. Ireland, 1846. 1 million dead. 2 million refugees had to flee to England. And America. Russian famine from 21 to 22 after the revolution. 5 million dead. The Soviet famine, 6 million. Here we talk about deliberate famine because scholars are still arguing about whether some famines were caused on purpose or some were just conveniently allowed to happen. I think we can all make our own conclusions. But at any rate, the Soviet famine in the 30s, it's called Holodomor. I don't know what it means. I think it means famine by, deliberate. Happened in Ukraine, as a matter of fact. I'll quote this woman from Ukraine. She was a doctor in the middle of the famine. She goes, "Survival was a moral as well as physical struggle." A woman doctor wrote to a friend in June 1933 that she had not yet become a cannibal, but was not sure that I shall not be one by the time my letter reaches you. Then the doctor says, "The good people died first. Those who refused to steal or to prostitute themselves died. Those who gave food to others died. Those who refused to eat corpses died. Those who refused to kill their fellow man died. Parents who resisted cannibalism died before their children died." It's pretty heavy. So, cannibalism, that's what people will stoop to when there's no food at all. They eat each other. Famine in Hawaii in 1868. It was in the Ka'u region of the Big Island. I used to live not near there. It was in the south. It's the Ka'u Desert, Volcanoes National Park. Beautiful place. Cambodia, 1976, 1.5 million. Those were people who died of famine. That doesn't count the people they killed deliberately, because they starved people out because they wanted agrarian societies for millions of people that were already used to a different kind of lifestyle. North Korea, Rwanda, Sudan, Ethiopia, Malawi, Nigeria are the most recent. We all remember Ethiopia back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. China, 58 to 61 during the Great Leap Forward. Their Great Leap Forward was going to be they wanted to industrialize immediately. And so they wanted to get away from agrarianism and agriculture and just end it, just like Petri dish wants to end fossil fuels like overnight. Same thing. They wanted to move toward an industrial society to keep up with the West. And in the process, 18 to 42 million people died. They really can't pinpoint a number because Chinese people don't like to tell you nothing. So, just a little tutorial on famine. There's more interesting stuff. It's kind of interesting and kind of boring at the same time, but you can do your own research on why people get hungry. But I do notice that people are talking about food shortages now in the bar and in the restaurant, which means I told my kid we got to buy stuff slowly and build up our stock of stuff, because once people get wind that there might be shortages, you see how they are with the toilet paper. So they'll clear out every last pickled pig's foot out of the store, and there won't be anything left. And the supply chain may not break down completely. They'll bring more stuff, and then that'll be ransacked. So you see what's going to happen. It's not going to be good. April, May, not looking forward to those months. As each month goes by, it'll be progressively worse and exponentially worse. So we'll see what happens. I think if Madness gets those wheat fields in Ukraine, he's going to sell the wheat to his buddy, Happiness, over there in Happiness Land. I'll leave it at that. It's almost too long. I hope you got something out of it. I enjoyed reading from Jesus' words. He's got a way with words. I wish he had written more down himself. So we'll leave it at that. Have a good afternoon.